D-Mace, Vinkin, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing and Heating, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vinkin here with you. Willie, we're glad you're back.
Glad to be back, guys.
This is the last time we're going to look at you for about weeks.
Get ready for some Zooms.
Get ready for some Zooms.
I'll be across the Pacific Northwest, the Canadian Rockies, both sides of them. I'll be covering some ground.
It'd be everywhere, Willie.
Well, we're happy that we can all be together today.
A big happy family.
Yes, one big happy family. And I know that it's not quite Festivus yet, and that I've been airing my grievances for most of the week, particularly about Christmas season and when it should start. But I have another grievance that I need to get out there. It has nothing to do with Christmas. It is a driving-related grievance.
Oh, I thought this is not about the big Christmas tree from
This
yesterday.
is not about the big Christmas tree. Also,
picture that
my
I sent you.
suspicions were confirmed this morning when Willie told me he does not know how to take a screenshot on this computer.
Hey, I don't blame you, Willie.
No, I had no idea.
We're in the same boat.
I was like, you could do that?
Is that something you can
I will
actually do?
teach. I will
That can
teach
be
you
done.
all. I will teach you all at some point. But this is my driving-related grievance. What is the acceptable amount of time if you are in a busy parking lot and you are combing the parking lot for a spot? You see somebody leaving the mall, the gym, wherever you are. You see them get in their car. They turn the car on. And then they sit in the spot with the car on. And don't back out. What is the maximum acceptable time someone can sit in their car with it on as they're leaving before they pull out?
30 to 45 seconds max.
I think that's even
Max,
higher.
yeah.
I think there's got to be a little awareness.
Exactly.
that
Absolutely.
The lot is full and people need that spot.
Absolutely. Oh, man.
This happens.
You just hit a nerve, man.
At the Y that we go to.
It's
correct?
funny you mentioned that, Willie, because that's where it happened yesterday.
I'm not surprised at all.
It happens a lot for me at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Willie and I both live in East Nashville. We both attend the same YMCA. It's a great YMCA, and they have a big lot in the back, but I like to park in the front.
Right. The
because
back is not, it takes a little longer to get in there.
Yeah.
So
Right.
nobody wants to really go to the back.
Especially when it starts getting cold.
So you got coveted spots in the
So
front, right by
I-
the front door.
I'm circling the parking lot. I notice somebody leaving the gym. So I maneuver my car to where they're going. I see them get in the car. They turn on the car. The brake lights are on. I'm sitting there. I've got my blinker on. I swear it was at least 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Or
Yeah.
they pulled out of the spot. And I did not want to be that guy flashing the brights or giving the what I call the courtesy honk, the little burp,
Right.
the little burp.
You don't lean on it, but you
I would
Just
like
a
to
tap.
confess I am
heads
one
up
of
to
those
me.
guys who takes
Oh,
a little I like to make sure I play the right song. I like to
Right.
wait.
Oh,
You plug in the
no.
phone.
Yes,
Get the
yes.
Bluetooth set up.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
It's not my fault
I
that you
think it
guys
used to
can't
take
find a
shorter.
parking spot.
Oh, man. People like
I think it's a 30-second grace period.
30. I said 30 to 45 seconds, max 45 seconds. But again,
But be
Or-
aware of your
no,
surroundings.
but this is because I tell my kids this too. It's not necessarily me wanting to get in, as I tell my kids. It's about your safety. You're sitting in the car just fiddling with stuff and doing this and doing that. All the while, somebody could be coming right up to you and either opening up your door because you're not making sure your doors are locked. Either open up your door or smash your window or do something. So make sure you have your key out ready to go. Make sure you have everything. Because so when you get in that car, you put that seatbelt on and you leave. You don't have time to be sitting there because that gives someone else enough time to sort of scheme against you. That's what I tell, that's why I don't like my kids sitting in a parking lot that long. Just get in your car, have your key ready, move and get to where you're going. Because the longer you sit there, the longer you give somebody an opportunity to do something nefarious.
That is an interesting
That is a
point
good point.
that I had not considered. I will take that under advisement.
Mm-hmm.
But the 2 or 3 minutes, and the angle I was at, I could see the person in the driver's seat. They were just flipping through their phone.
Exactly.
Trying to find the right song, I think. Like,
Or
it might have
looking at
been
text
David. He was trying to get
messages.
the right song on. That's what's
Maybe
going
it
on.
was. But I'm just saying, if you get in the car, look, and I get it. I oftentimes have a toddler in my back
A
seat.
toddler is something different.
Right. So
something
sometimes I'm
different.
about to drive and then my son asks for something. So I've got to rifle through the back seat for it, or he drops something and I have to go pick it up. But this person did not have anybody else in the car. They just took their sweet time to pull out of that parking spot.
You could have walked. There's a parking spot in the back. You can walk.
Karma.
You chose not to.
Karma.
Get some
karma.
exercise. You're at the Y. You're there to get for exercise anyways. You can walk.
Don't make me feel bad.
Yes. No, it's just I truly, that's one of the things that I just like, oh, you guys to be kidding me. Because I take it upon myself. When I get in the car, I am always conscious and aware of people that are behind me. So I get in my car and I go, especially if I see somebody that wants the spot and they're pulling in. I get in my car, throw my seatbelt on, turn it on, and leave. Because those people want to get in. And I know in the morning or late in the evening, people want to get to where they need to go quickly. So it's like, all right, let me get in the car. Boom. Let me do my thing and get out of here. Because I ain't got time to be sitting there either. So I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all, Adam.
Someone texted in on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and said, what if the person is texting or calling someone as opposed to texting/calling while driving? Well, that is
you
safe.
have Bluetooth.
You do. Most people have hands-free devices.
Exactly.
You can
Absolutely.
call and text without having to use your hands while driving.
Absolutely.
So, or I understand that you might have to look for directions. I'm just saying, have all of this planned out as you're walking to the car. Don't just sit there. Now that I've gotten that off my chest.
But 9 times out of
Look what I'm doing. I had to do it. This is just, I had to do it.
Are you doing that? Are you doing that?
It just popped in there. It just popped into my head. This is what you need to do right now.
Willie is taking a picture of his computer screen with his cell phone.
Yeah. Because I don't know how to do. I didn't know
We
you
are
could
going-
take a
we are
screenshot of
going-
your computer screen.
As we
I
are
want
speaking.
can we get a couple texters just saying, "Hey, Willie, D-Mace,
It's not
I'm with you.
okay.
I didn't know you could do that."
Hey, I still don't know how to do it.
Do
I'm-
people know? Do people know you could do? How do you? Can you show me?
I
how to do
will
it?
show
Yeah.
it to you during the break. We will do a tutorial during the break. Were you doing that because you actually had to, or you were just trying to get on my nerves?
As I was putting my phone up to the computer, it dawned on me they're going to see me. They're going to bust me. See, these are the things I don't have to worry about if I'm on remote. If I'm
Exactly.
in Florida or Calgary or Edmonton,
Oh,
the place
man.
that they don't have to worry about what I'm doing. But now they can see.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
So we will teach you how to take a screenshot on your computer during the break.
Oh,
But
man.
Derek, you and I were in here yesterday for the first hour while Willie was handling his Predators broadcast duties. And I'm not one to pat myself on the back when I say something right. But what did I say in the first segment of yesterday's show about the game between the Predators and the Panthers?
You said it was going to be a blowout.
I sure did. I said I had a bad feeling about this game for a number of reasons. The fact that the Predators played the night before, they had some key injuries. Colton Sissons left the game against the Capitals. Tommy Novak didn't play. The Panthers had been rested. They hadn't played it for nearly a week. They are the defending Stanley Cup champions. It was a recipe for disaster. And indeed it was. The Predators lose 6-2 to the Florida Panthers last night. Their record falling to 4-9-1 on the season. The Predators sit in the cellar of the National Hockey League with a league low 9 points. They are the only team in the NHL yet to hit double digits in standings points. And this game really was over before it even started. Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk score within the first 5 or so minutes. The Predators are down 2-0. Stop me if you've heard that one before. I believe it was Alex Daugherty of the Tennessean. I'm going to pull it up right now, who said that the Predators have given up the first 2 goals in the game. I want to say it was 8 times. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I said it during the broadcast when the
Well,
second goal was
there
scored.
you go.
So
8
I don't know
times.
if I was before Alex or after Alex or Alex heard me say it or
We'll give a hat tip to both Alex Daugherty and Willie Donick that the Predators have allowed the first 2 goals in 8 of their first 14 games. The Panthers made it 4-0. Steven Stamkos scored to make it 4-1. By the end of the second period, it was 5-1. And, I'm not going to repeat everything I said yesterday, but this is where I stand on this team. On Wednesday afternoon, before Jared came on, he came into the studio and he asked me, how many points do you think the Predators need in the next handful of games to get back on track? At the time, I used 8 games because they still had to play the Capitals and Panthers. They had the home game. They have the home game coming up against Utah tomorrow, and then 5 games on the road. So 8 games. So 16 total standings points up for grabs. I said, I don't know how I came up with this number, but I said, I think they need at least 11 of 16 to turn the tide. So that would be a 5-2-1 record. Well, they're 0-2, 0 points. So now they need 11 of 12.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they can't lose in regulation in these next 6 games if they want to meet my criteria. So, I said a lot about this team in the first hour yesterday. I stand by everything I said about these team struggles. And Willie, obviously, you were there. You were calling these past 2 games, and you said something before we started that rings true. That before the season, we went through all of the key Predators questions, and it feels like so far the answers to all of those questions are the worst case scenario.
They're not the answer that you want for the question. Here's the question. What is the answer right now? The answer is not what you want it to be with a lot of the questions. And when they had the free agent frenzy over the summer, there was a lot of, wow, they made a splash, but there were people saying, okay, well, let's take a look. How do the pieces fit? And under the categories of how do the pieces fit, if you want to make that the question, and then you have a subset of specifics, that's where things aren't going well at all. It's one thing to be losing, but the numbers are troubling to go with the results. Last year, they went 5-10, but I think you could look at some things, and Andrew Burnett did, and say, you're close to something a lot better. The record shouldn't be 5-10. Right now at 4-9-1, I think you could probably say, had UC Saros not played as well as he's played, UC Saros has played fabulous. And you see last night with him not in there to erase some mistakes. It was Scott Wedgwood who got sort of thrown to the wolves. Their record could be worse, I think. So UC Saros is booing them, I think, to 4-9-1. And that's really troubling. So there's a lot of things that they've got to fix. It's like you look under your hood and you've got not just one problem, but you got a series of things. You got to fix one thing, then you got to get to the next thing. They're all connected, and your car's not running very well. So I'm not as into of the next 10 games. I know Barry Trotz is. He said, I look at 10 game segments and things like that. I'm just looking at, I want to see a team that looks like they're firing on all cylinders. Last night, the result was predictable. I think even if they had been playing well, that was a brutal back-to-back. To play a fresh Panthers team that's feeling good. They've got everybody healthy. They'd won 5 in a row. They were rested and at home. And the Predators were coming in after a tough loss and a long travel that got them there at 3 a.m. That always puts you behind the 8 ball. So that didn't help. But as you said, Adam, it's not that they lost 6-2. It's how they lost 6-2. They came out of the gate with not a lot, and they didn't have a lot of pushback after that. It was a cruise control kind of game for, albeit a great team. The Panthers are a great team, but the Predators never mounted and made the Panthers really work for anything, and so that was disappointing.
By the way, last season, the Predators did not lose a game in regulation in the second half of a back-to-back. They were 8-0-1 last season in the second half of back-to-back games. I believe they were the only team in the NHL who did not lose a regulation game in the second half of a back-to-back. And of course, last night, the second half of a back-to-back.
Last year, Kevin Lankinen was a big part of that. There were times that UC Saros was given the second half of the back-to-back and played some great back halves. So, the further you get removed from last year, and I think they're at that point, it's like, hey, you can't really refer to last year. It's this team. This is the team that's got to figure it out. And they've got to find some answers here, and they've got to do it in a hurry.
It just seems like it's hard for me to sort of go down that road, but it's a woe is me when they get down 2-0, or if they get down early in the game. Here we go again, woe is us. And it just seems like they couldn't pick up their game. And what I'm starting to see is the frustration. Everybody gets frustrated in sports. It happens. But I think their frustration is visible now. You see fights, you see things happening. It seems like they're trying to do more energizing with fighting than doing energizing with puck play, at least in the last couple of games, at least to me. And I understand that because, a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago, Barry sort of alluded to that. So so these guys here, and they're like, how do we get that spark? Which usually you get a spark by somebody, going that extra mile, and you get a fight going, and all of a sudden it energizes everybody. Well, that hasn't worked for the Nashville Predators. So it's almost like they're running out of things to do to get themselves going. We tried this. We tried the line movement. It didn't get anybody going. We tried the fighting. It didn't get anybody going. Now, what do you do now? Because you're running out of things to do to get people going.
That is a great question, Derek, because I was listening to our friend Elliot Freeman on his 32 Thoughts podcast today, and he and his new co-host Kyle Bukauskas were discussing that same thing. And I want to play what Elliot said in the next segment and discuss it because I found it to be very interesting. By the way, someone texted in and said, I was today years old when I found out you can take a screenshot on your computer. What is wrong with you guys? By the end of the next break, Willie and Derek will know how to take a screenshot on their computer, and they will thank me later. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the Predators, and we'll get to what Elliot Freeman thinks might be on the horizon for the Predators. But before we do that, tune into 1025 The Game this Sunday for coverage of the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. Coverage will begin following the Vanderbilt men's basketball game. Coverage also available on the 1025 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com.
It's never too late to start thinking about the big game. And this November, Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in Tennessee, has launched a brand new sweepstakes for all its Tennessee customers. The Big Game Sweepstakes, where you could win a grand prize of 2 tickets to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, or $10,000 cash. And what's more, in Zen Sports will also award 50 additional prizes, which include 2 tickets to any Tennessee sporting event or $100 cash. What, excuse me, want in on the action? You can earn multiple entries every day just by betting on Zen Sports app. For every bet you place, you'll earn 1 entry, and for every dollar you bet, earn an additional entry. Like parlays, earn double the entries on every parlay place. So what are you waiting for? When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to $100 no danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $100. Start betting with Zen Sports and download their app today. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. Remember, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
Tune into 94.9 The Fan tomorrow at 6:30 for our college football game of the week. Alabama versus LSU, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. The Predators, I guess they did their best. They lose 6-2 to the Florida Panthers last night. They are in the basement of the NHL, worst team in the league. By the way, I taught Willie and Derek how to take a screenshot on their computers during the break. And they both think it's easier to just take a picture on yourself.
It's pretty much so. It's easy
I think so.
Yep.
That's my conclusion. It's quicker
exactly.
to just take it, stand it off.
For those of you who have Apple computers, it's Command-Shift-4. That's how you take a
And then
But then there's a
and then
whole
you gotta
other thing. You got to get your
drag
finger the right. I don't
and-
like dragging.
Yeah, it's just like
I'm sorry that you
I'm
do
not a good
have the
dragger.
dexterity to take a screenshot.
I have poor dexterity when it comes
But
to
then
dragging.
if you take your finger off of it, you lose it,
I
and
know
then you have to go back and do it
or
again.
it doesn't get all of it. And it
Absolutely,
got to start
Willie.
over. It's
Yeah.
just snap. Go.
I'm keeping it old school, man. Just
All
gotta
right.
get
I tried, everybody. I tried. So Derek asked a very good question before we went to break. What is there for the Predators to do in this situation? We heard what Barry Trotz said earlier this week with Jared Stillman. You know, the idea of putting some younger guys into the lineup. It seems too soon to make a big trade. I think it's too soon to fire the coach. Though I did say yesterday, and I want to clarify this because Jared, Joe, and Robbie talked about this morning. And then when I asked Jared, did you actually hear what I said? He said no. So I want to make sure that people hear what I have to say about Andrew Brunette. And Willie wasn't here, so this is the first time I think he's going to be hearing it. I said that if the Predators do not show meaningful progress by the end of the upcoming road trip, so that November 20th game against Seattle. So there were 7 games when I said this. Now there are 6. If the Predators do not show meaningful progress by that game, it's time to start having the conversation. I'm not saying they need to fire Andrew Brunette if they don't show meaningful progress over the next 6 games. But if they play like they did last night and the results aren't there, I think you have to start having the conversation. Whether or not it actually happens, I think it's unlikely it happens. But I think you need to start having the conversation. But in lieu of that, I was listening to the 32 Thoughts podcast with our friend Elliot Freeman, who joins us every Thursday. And he discussed something that maybe the Predators could do tomorrow against Utah to send a message to the dressing room.
Kyle, you know the other thing I was thinking about with Nashville?
What's that?
The other thing this says to me is, and we'll see if I'm right or we'll see if I'm wrong. Next game, someone notable could be sitting. And the thing that you're weighing about this, if you're Brunette and Trotz. So I looked at the standings today. Both the Jets and the Predators have played 14 games. The Jets are 17 points ahead of the Predators. That's wild after 14 games. So part of you is sitting there saying, I have to do something to get these guys' attention. But the other part of you is saying, I can't throw 2 points away. I understand this yin and yang. I can take someone out of my lineup. I can send the shockwaves through the veteran gets scratched. Because right now, who's getting scratched? It's Tomasino, it's Evangelista, it's McCarron, it's Novak or Sissons if they're hurt. But if you really want to send the message, it's someone you're expecting to play, and that gets noticed. But you can't throw games. You need your best lineup every game from here on in.
So that was Elliot Freeman on his 32 Thoughts podcast with Kyle Bukauskas on Sportsnet. So Elliot wonders. And when Elliot wonders something, it's usually coming from a place of it's informed speculation. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but when Elliot says something like that, usually there's something behind it. So I absolutely hear what he's saying, Willie, that you might want to send a message to your dressing room by sitting a player who wouldn't normally sit. but you also don't want to hamstring your team by taking out a player that improves your chances of winning. But it may be the card that Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette have to play right now.
I'm not sure who that would be at this point with the status of Novak and Sissons up in the air.
I have a
I'm not
suggestion.
sure. Well, you don't have any extra forwards if
I
you
know,
have those two guys
But
out.
I have a suggestion as to who should come
Okay.
out. Brady Shea.
Well, Brady Shea is struggling. There's no doubt about it. Brady Shea is struggling mightily on the ice right now, and I don't know him that well yet. I do absolutely have no questions at all about his makeup and his desire to win, his track record. It doesn't match what we're seeing on the ice. And in particular, one thing that happened last night was that after the first two goals, and both of them were with Brady Shea and Roman Josi on the ice. And that doesn't mean that it's one guy's fault, but Brady Shea and Roman Josi together as a pair have, and they're getting, by the way, tough assignments, but also getting offensive zone starts, right? So they are out there in favorable situations that should be driving offense. And the opposite is happening. They are sinking as a team with their top defensive pair on the ice. Their 5-on-5 is hemorrhaging right now, to say the least. And so you need those two drivers back there on D who have great offensive skill sets to be not only not giving up, not having bad things happen, but driving offense. And neither is happening right now at 5-on-5. And it is really mystifying. And I think everybody to a person is wondering what. And this is just one of a list of problems. But, you know, if you want to start from the back end, you're saying, are they getting good goaltending? UC Saros is playing great. Scott Wedgwood is still a question mark at this point. I don't know at this point if he is anywhere close to what Kevin Lankinen had been giving them the last 2 years as the backup. I think that remains to be seen. He's played one good game, and he's had a couple of games where he struggled. Last night, I can't really put on him that much, but he didn't do much to keep them afloat. But they split Brady Shea and Roman Josi after the first two goals were scored. And I think that says a lot, that I think they really wanted to ride out the storm, give them time to figure each other out. But the more they play together, the numbers aren't getting any better. And if anything, they're getting worse. So they have to try something different. And last night they tried Roman Josi and Mark Del Gaizo. Mark Del Gaizo is actually, to me, the lone bright spot, relatively speaking. I'm not saying he's going to be a star, but he's playing well. And I think he's going to get a chance to have some more responsibility here. When he's played with Josi, it's looked a little bit better. And Shea with anybody else is looking better. But Shea's going through a lot right now. And I don't know that sitting him is going to be the answer. But I do think that has got to get better. Brady Shea just got here. He's got a long-term, what is it, a 7-year deal,
Yes.
Adam? You're stuck with it, man. I'm bunching him for one game. Does that do anything? I don't know if I buy the theory. But I understand to do something. You got to try something. And they've tried a lot of things, right? They've tried all kinds of lineup combinations and different things, and they haven't figured out anything that's got traction.
I think hockey sort of lends itself to being able to do that. Like, you know, if a guy's not playing well, and you've tried several different things. And in basketball also, you can do it where you can say, okay, you just need to sit for a night, or some of your minutes need to be diminished for the night. And maybe that sort of jump starts you when you get back in there. I'm not sure you can do that in other sports, but I think, you know, because you're going to have to do something. Like I said, it's going to get to a point where, you know, if you don't start, you know, making some of these sort of harsh moves, what else can you do? You got to keep on going back there, doing the same thing over and over again, and you're not getting the results that you want. So if that's the case, let's try this. Let's see if this works. If you're one of the guys that we brought in and you're not, you know, picking up on a system, or you're not playing the way that you had been playing prior to getting here, then maybe it's one of those situations where, we got to pull him out, because then that becomes a shock to everybody. Now everybody understands that no matter who you are, no matter how much money you're making, if you're not playing well, you can be removed from the lineup for a period of time.
I do think, Adam, that some of what time, you're trying to be patient, but just haven't seen anything that now Stamkos has made some mini steps forward. He's done a little bit better here. And so that's encouraging to some degree. I still think there has to be another level if it's going to be what they want it to be. And I always go back to this. It's return on investment, right? When to whom much is given, much is expected. Jonathan Marchessault now in all of these games, Brady, Shea, to a lesser degree Stamkos, there's not any return on the investment at this point. And I think they've given them a lot of runway of, okay, it's new, different system. You're coming from other places. I'm going to give you time. But that time is up, don't you think? I mean, it'd be one thing if they're hovering around 500 and say, okay, I'll give you a little more time. And it is not to single out those three guys, because you can go to a man. I don't think any person could come in and look you in the eye today and say, I played really well last night. I'm doing my job. And that's why I love what Ryan O'Reilly said the other day. He said, I stunk it out. And I think he's looking around saying, I hope you guys are kind of looking in the mirror the same way and saying the same thing. I don't think it's a makeup problem with the team. I think these are good team players. I don't think it's a locker room issue per se. I don't think it's a coaching issue. I just think they haven't figured it out. But to do something, that's the problem. It's like, I don't think they know exactly what to do right now. I think they're searching for answers, and they've tried a lot of things, and they're like, man, we're still right back at square one. What do? We got to try something else.
It's if you don't get it done, like my mama used to tell me when I was a kid, I can show you, but I can tell you. I can show you better than I can tell you. Keep on doing what you're doing. I can show you better than I can tell you. And there may, and I'm wondering this, because Coach Bruno, when he talks about the team, and I understand a little bit why, because he's there. And I'm not saying that Barry's not there in the trenches with them, but he's there Barry's there, but he's not there in a sense. The coach is there like every minute of every second of every day with the players, especially during the season. So maybe the message is getting sort of lost, like, because it's coming from Barry and then it's being circumvented, then it comes out from Coach Bruno. So is the message the same that's coming from Coach? I mean, that's coming from Barry, still call him Coach. That's coming from Barry. Is that same message coming from Coach Bruno? Because if it's not, then there's going to be a disconnect with the players.
I think Brunette and Trotz are seeing the same things.
Okay.
For sure. I think
seeing the same thing,
yeah,
and then that message coming out are totally two different things.
This is true. Like, it's a veteran team, right? Do you need to be now? Last year they did take the hard stance, right? The U2 thing, that was a high schoolish almost.
Does anybody know of any concerts that can be canceled?
Well, I mean, obviously it's not that, right?
Mariah Carey's playing here.
I think Jelly Roll has a show coming up. Hey, Jelly Roll, if you're listening, you might want to cancel that show, brother, if you want the Predators to get back on track. That's all.
No
I'm
one
saying.
on Nashville Predators is allowed at the Jelly Roll concert.
That was a tough thing to do to a veteran team, a Ryan O'Reilly, a Luke Shin, because they're looking like I'm not in high school. Exactly. You don't need to do this to me, but they got it and it worked. So, do you have to get archaic, old school? Do you keep them after practice and run sprints? They call it the
bag skate.
The bag skate, right? Is the code, and for us it was the suicide. You run the suicides,
yeah.
And sometimes that's what you got to do. But this is their fourth game of the week. It's not like he's going to have them out there today after a back-to-back and bag skate them, right? That doesn't do any good. So they're searching to push the right buttons. But it is alarming right now. There is a lot of time to climb out of this hole, as they proved last year, but there are more things that look troublesome even than they did last year, and the expectations are higher.
Yes, and Brady Shea, and Willie, you make this point, and it's an accurate point. When you look at on ice goal differential or plus minus, it's not all on the player that you're singling out. We did this with Michael McCarron before he got scratched. That the Predators have given up this many goals with McCarron on the ice. That doesn't mean that Michael McCarron is responsible for every single one of those goals, though he was responsible for the one with Leon Draisaitl last week. But Brady Shea has been on the ice for 18 5-on-5 goals against and just 7 for the Predators. That's a minus 11 differential. That's not good. So I hear what you're saying about the forwards, and that's right. They're thin at forward right now with the injuries. I hear what Elliott's saying too about, do you want to you need to put your best lineup out there to get yourself out of this. But really, the only card Brunette may have to play to send a message is by scratching someone. And if I had a vote in this, it would be Brady Shea.
I'm curious about defense pairs tomorrow, because the way they started the game was not the way they finished the game, and it would not surprise me if Brady Shea plays with a different partner, and maybe now the other problem is Carrier and Lauzon. They haven't been as effective as they were last year, and that's the same guys playing the same system. So what's going on there, right? They're not doing a whole lot better. Their standard from last year that they set is lower. Let's take the first goal. Like when you say it's not on one guy, right? It's a team game. It's 0-0. You're coming out of the gate. Let's see what you got. Can you hang with the defending champs? Here comes Sam Reinhart, brilliant goal scorer down the right wing. Brady Shea picks him up. He gets beat wide, right? He doesn't let him go right to the net, but he gets beat around with speed around the back of the net. It's got everybody sort of out of sorts. Roman Yossi's his partner. He comes back to the middle. Scott Wedgwood comes out challenging, respecting a shot, so he's a little bit out of the net. And I thought it was going to be an easy wraparound goal. Wedgwood, to his credit, recovers last second and makes the initial save, although he's kind of late getting there. Everybody's kind of in a scramble. The puck bounces back off of Josi, and Wedgwood's stick kind of gets jammed and goes back in. So you can wind it back, and there's probably something that all 5 skaters leading up to that could have said, you know what, I think I could have done something better on that to prevent that from happening. And one of them is probably Brady Shea containing a great player in Reinhart a little better than he did on that play. And so if you're taking ownership, that's the kind of thing that's going on right now, and it's happening way too much.
615-737-1025. We had one hell of a Thursday night football game last night. We'll discuss that coming up next. Tune into 94.9 The Fan tomorrow for Vanderbilt football. The Commodores will take on South Carolina with pregame beginning at 1:30 and kickoff at 3:15.
Who you with?
Coverage is also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at thegamenashville.com.
All right, let's talk Lee Company, proud sponsor, Nashville Predators. They have been servicing the area since 1944, 80 years of service. Outstanding stuff. Start a relationship with them by just memorizing this phone number, because you never know when you might need it. 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. And what I like to tell people is they're there for you if a problem arises, but also what they really like is the year-round relationship, the annual checkups, to solve problems before they become the big problem, the crisis in the middle of the winter when your heating goes out. So get that heating unit checked if you haven't in the last year or so. You'll be glad in the middle of January when we get those super freezing temperatures. 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. They're a proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators and our coverage, which continues tomorrow when the Utah Hockey Club comes to town. Lee Company, we've been using them at our house for a long, long time. General maintenance, heating, plumbing, cooling, electric. It's Lee Company.
D. Mace, Finken, and Donick, 1025, 1063, the game. A reminder that Ask D. Mace is coming up at 12:30. At 12:30, we had a Tuesday edition as well. We had great participation, so we will have another Ask D. Mace because we forgot to do it last week. That's why we're having two. So get your questions ready for Derek at 615-737-1025. But before that, we had one hell of a Thursday night football game last night between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. Ravens win 35-34.
Go Flock.
Lamar Jackson, yes. Lamar Jackson, a brilliant performance as the Ravens came back from a 14-point deficit. And this was amazing when I read this. Before last night, the last time the Ravens trailed by 14 points with Lamar Jackson on the field, meaning he did not miss the game because of injury, was exactly 3 years earlier. It had been 3 years since the Ravens trailed a game by 14 points with Lamar Jackson on the field. And clearly it didn't matter to him because he was brilliant at the end of that game. And, the Ravens Willie, you were saying this about the Ravens. You also mentioned the Buffalo Bills in this as well, that it doesn't matter what the situation is in a game when you're playing the Ravens, they're never out of it.
Yeah, they're in every game, and so they're usually going to be there at the end of the season. Whereas you take the Bengals seem to fluctuate a little bit more, especially with the health. They don't seem to have the depth. I don't know what it is. The Bengals now sitting at what are they 4-6? Like
Yeah.
that was supposed
Was
to be
that
a
it for them?
Super Bowl kind of thing. I don't think that was it, but they just don't look like they've got that heavyweight presence to them.
They are not like they don't have a knockout punch. They'll stay in the fight,
Yeah.
but then
And Burrow is always going to give
exactly
them a
he's
chance.
gonna always give them a chance. He and Chase, but they don't have that knockout punch. Like they are not like a Muhammad Ali. They're not like a Larry Holmes, where we can go through the whole fight where it can be toe to toe. But I got that one thing that you don't have. I got that knockout punch, and that knockout punch with the Baltimore Ravens is this. And as I started to watch more and more, watch that game and watching these two quarterbacks operate, because both of them are damn good. Watching these two quarterbacks operate, it sickened me. It really did. Because that's what you need. That would erase half of what your team isn't. If you have that guy. Repeat, that erase half of what your team isn't. Baltimore Ravens, people just talk about the points that they score and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but their defense is atrocious. But you know what? They got one guy, or better yet, two guys, really one, but you throw Derrick Henry in there as well because he's just that good. But when you talk about the position, they have one guy that can erase half of what your problem is, and that's the quarterback. Lamar Jackson right now is the best quarterback, the best football player in the National Football League. And a lot of people may not want to hear that, because when he first got in the league, there were many people saying he will never learn how to be a quarterback. He will never learn how to throw the football. Well, joke's on you, Jack, because he's learned how to throw the football, and he's throwing it better than any quarterback, even Patrick Mahomes to this day. He's playing the position. I'm not saying that he's better overall, like his career has been better than Patrick Mahomes, but he's throwing the football better than Patrick Mahomes. He's throwing the football better than anybody outside of probably Jared Goff. He's playing that position. And as I watch the game, like I said, as I watch the game more and more, I see two terrific quarterbacks that erase half of the problems that are ailing their team. So no matter how good or bad the Tennessee Titans are, they don't have that one guy at that one important position that can eliminate half of your problems.
Let's just give a shout out, by the way, to Jamar Chase in a
Jeez.
losing
Yeah.
effort. 11 receptions, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
They couldn't cover him. They couldn't cover him to save their life, or they didn't try to cover. I don't know what they were doing.
I wonder
Brand
how,
new
coverage
I
is
wonder how
everything.
many times in NFL history a team has lost when a receiver has a stat line like that. I can't
Joe
imagine
Burrow
it's
almost
happened
threw
very
for
often.
400 yards. and
When they
4
lost the
touchdowns.
last game and Joe Burrow threw for darn near 500 yards and they end up losing,
That is true.
because it's the knockout punch.
It was over 700 yards and 11 touchdowns.
Exactly. So that's what Kansas City has. Kansas City has that knockout punch. Like, we can go toe to toe all today, and it can be even on points. But come the last round, 10 seconds left in the round, I got that knockout punch, and you don't have it.
To David's point, there have been 2 instances in NFL history where a quarterback had the following: 30 plus completions, 300 plus passing yards, 4 plus touchdown passes, multiple 40 plus yard touchdown passes, and no more than 1 interception, and still lost the game.
It was Joe Burrow the first time.
Those 2 instances were Joe Burrow versus the Ravens in week 5
Mhm.
and Joe Burrow versus the Ravens last night.
Yeah. So listen, we saw a display of 2 very good quarterbacks, and 2 quarterbacks, because if you look at both defenses, if you take out both of those quarterbacks in those teams, and you throw in just an average quarterback, or you throw in Will Levis, this team isn't they are not, even with Derrick Henry, they are not a playoff team. They're not. Why? Because they don't have that one guy that can erase when your team gives up 30 points. They do. They have that guy, but it's just so happened Joe Burrow ran into the other guy that can do that. Until the Tennessee Titans get that guy, and I don't know if they're gonna get him this year or not, but until they get that guy, they've never had that guy ever. It's been 20 years since they had that guy. Until they get that guy, they're gonna continue to be in the same position they're in.
It's sad.
It
because
is.
it's hard
it
to
is
find
But
that
sad.
guy.
that's what I'm saying. But
Yes.
until you get that guy, that's what it's gonna be.
Right, that-
You may
it's
have
the
a few
answer to a lot of
seasons
questions.
here and there. You may have a few seasons here and there, but when it comes down to it, in those crucial situations, they had Ryan Tannehill who held the ship on course, but they didn't have a knockout punch. They didn't have
Sure.
Ryan Tannehill that could.
The fact is, there's a lot of teams. There's
Exactly.
probably 20 in a given year that don't have that guy.
Mhm.
There are probably some teams that have a guy who has a great year, but
Yeah.
really isn't that guy. But he's for that season, he's really good. I think these are the things that they have to work on while they don't have that guy,
Mhm.
because I don't know that they're going to get that guy anytime soon. But what can you do in the meantime? Those that's important too. Like
Yeah.
you got to have that too.
615-737-1025. We'll get into the Titans and Chargers next. Look, the Titans season in terms of what could happen, it's effectively over. We're not expecting them to make much progress in the win-loss department this season, but there are still things to watch and keep an eye on for the future as the Titans season progresses, and we'll discuss that next. 615-737-1025. Speaking of that game, join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and this man right here, Derek Mason, at Twin Peaks in Cool Springs this Sunday for the pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30. They will break down the Titans Week 10 matchup against the Chargers and give you the latest updates before the game. The pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sun Deck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. D. Mays, Finken, and Donick, 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. I hope some of you have learned today how to take a screenshot on your computers. If I taught one of you how to do that,
Friday tutorial with Adam Vingan of DVD.
maybe I should have been an Apple genius instead of a radio host.
Maybe.
There you go.
But I'm much
I
happier
think
here.
you might have something there, Adam, because you call
genius
sometimes if you
bar.
call the customer service, you get the automated thing. It's hard to find a person, and then is that person connecting really with you?
Uh-huh.
I think Adam connects with people.
Yeah.
He can have his own service. Like, just call Adam to get stuff done. Adam,
But
by the way,
don't call
the
him
to-do guy.
after 8:00 p.m.
Or when
Monday through Friday.
or when he's waiting for a parking spot at the Y.
Yes.
He's not in a good mood at that point.
No. You know full well what it's like. It's not easy. It's not easy to find the parking spot at the Y. My son likes to park in the back for some reason because he likes the long walk. So he'll say, Dad, we're parking in the back. And I'm like, I'm gonna park in the front. No, the back. So I can only park in the front when he's not in the car. So I had my opportunity and didn't have it happen yesterday. The Tennessee Titans are in Los Angeles on Sunday to take on the Chargers. It appears that Will Levis will be back. He was a full participant in practice yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Big opportunity for him. And Will Levis is one of those players that over the course of the rest of the season, the Titans are 2-6. Who knows how many more games they're going to win? They're 7-point underdogs on the road tomorrow on Sunday against the Chargers. But you hope to see some signs of progress from certain players who you hope can be part of the solution moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the players that you look at in particular are the rookies. And Nick Suss of the Tennessean had a really good article in the paper that published online today, where he went over how the members of the most recent rookie class performed. And he started with J.C. Latham. And there was a quote from Nick Holes in there, the offensive coordinator, that really, I think, tells the whole story. He said, quote, I haven't gotten the question about JC in 5 or 6 weeks, if not longer. That's what you want to hear about your left tackle. We would all like to have said the same thing about the right tackle position, but we haven't been able to do that because the right position has been bad.
Well, and let's remember that J.C. Latham is playing left tackle and not right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that was something people were, to use your word, squawking about all summer. But that has been quieted 100%. So let's go back to our discovery, our discussion at the last part of last hour. We watched on display two teams that have great quarterbacks, and what a duel that was last night. And when you don't have that, you're like, God, what would I do to have one of those guys? But when you start ranking positions, left tackles are hard to find. It's not sexy, but we saw what it looks like when you don't have a left tackle or a right tackle. That's what happened last year. But I would say I'm really happy with where that part is going. Would you guys agree? Like, let's remember how young he is too. I remind people all the time. He's 21.
Nick Suss had some interesting statistics in this story. He said in 2023, Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis ranked first and second in the NFL in percentage of pressures that came off left tackle at 43.3% and 43.2% respectively. This year, Levis and Mason Rudolph ranked 24th and 18th at 19.6% and 22.2%. Suss writes, Latham isn't among the league's highest echelon of blindside tackles yet, but he's addressed one of the NFL's biggest weaknesses in a major way.
With I think, a lot of room for growth. Would you agree?
No, yeah. I mean, he's not the reason why the Tennessee Titans are in the position that they're in. He has gotten better, I think, as the year has progressed. Now, listen, is he going to still give up, pressure? And say, yeah, that's going to happen. But I think looking at him from when he first got here in training camp to where he's at now, and all these things that people were sort of worried about, can he make the transition from right to left? You know, is he quick enough? Can he do this? He's proven that he can. He's proven that he is a left tackle in this league. This is a guy that came into college football as a left tackle. He got recruited as a left tackle, but because their left tackle was so good, he wanted to play, so they put him at right, and he excelled at right tackle. That should tell you something about his makeup, people. It's that right there should tell you something about his makeup, that he came in as a left tackle, probably the best left tackle in high school that year. Or did he come out with Nick? No, he didn't come out the same year Nicholas did, because Nicholas was rated the best left tackle, and you see where he's at. But I'm sure he had to be in the top 2 or 3 of left tackle coming out of high school. But then he says, you know what? They got a perfectly good left tackle over there. I want to play. So you know what, coach? If you're going to put me a right tackle, let's do it. And he learned how to be a right tackle. That's his makeup. That's who he is. You put him back to left, he's going to learn how to be a left tackle or how to be the best left tackle. So he's working himself through the process, and he's getting better. So for those that were scared he couldn't make the transition, well, it seems like he's making it again. He's not perfect. He's going to give up pressures every once in a while. But I think he has answered the question of, can he make the transition from right to left?
And I also was, probably more than anything else, I was really impressed, and I have been from the get-go. He appears to have the makeup that you want of a guy that, A, has physical tools, but also is a student of the game, wants to learn, and is coachable. I was very impressed with what he had to say in that article by Nick Suss. It was an excellent job by Nick Suss to get a guy to open up and talk about the details that he's working on. That attention to detail, that is going to pay off, I think, in the long run. I think they've got a really good left tackle for years and years to come. They've got a lot of other problems, but let's give them credit on that one.
Jared's ears were burning
Oh, really?
because he texted me, not driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. He says, I mean, these stats are great, and Latham is doing great, but that's what you should get at 7. Penei Sewell was the 7th pick. I don't think we're making.
What does that have to do
Yeah,
with anything?
exactly. It had
I'm
nothing to
not
do with
sure what the
anything.
point is there.
Exactly. The point,
If he were playing right tackle, that would be something else. Does he not want to look? Let's look at all the 7th picks of the draft in the last 15 years. I'll guarantee you there's some whiffs. I don't care what position you're talking about. You think there's been a whiff or two with the 7th overall pick at quarterback?
Well,
Oh,
let's talk about let's talk, because we're going to talk
I
about.
love how people assume that because you pick high, that guy's should be good every time. History shows that they are not. Go do it. Pick a number from 1 through 10 and go through 15 drafts. Guarantee you there's more misses than hits.
Well, another rookie that we're going to talk about is Devondre Sweat. And because I know Jared is listening, what is one thing that Jared has been saying? You don't draft a run-stuffing DT with the 38th pick. J.C. Latham, for the 7th pick, I think for a rookie who is switching positions from right tackle to left tackle, is playing as well as the 7th pick in the draft should be playing, all things considered. Would you both agree?
yeah, I think he's right on
tracking
par.
to be really good.
He's tracking to be good. But that is not even my issue is this, because you can say, they're picking 7, so he should be good. But that wasn't the mindset when he got picked at 7. It was, they picking a right tackle and they want him to be a left tackle.
Derek,
That
you were
was the
there
sentiment.
for the draft show
Yes.
when the Titans drafted J.C. Latham. And correct me if I'm wrong here. Jared was so upset about it.
Yes.
He said he can't wait for Rand Carthon to be fired so that he could lead the parade. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, you have it correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Please continue.
And that's what I go. It's based upon what was your perception when the draft was made of J.C. Latham. Obviously, Jared's perception was they shouldn't have drafted him at 7 because he wasn't a left tackle. My thing was the guy came into college as a left tackle, but because they already had a really good left tackle, he switched to right tackle. And guess what he did? He adapted and became the best right tackle. That should tell you about his makeup. Whether he's playing right or left, he's going to adapt and become the best player he possibly can. But the whole thing was, how you going to draft a right tackle at 7th and then make him left tackle? Well, somebody did their homework and somebody did a good job at evaluating him and saying, you know what? Yeah, he played right, but we know he can play left. And who was that guy? Rand Carthon.
There are some pretty good 7th overall picks in the history of the NFL draft, at least in recent history.
Obviously, yes, but we
I
can make a
know.
list of
I-
great
I
ones,
have
and we
them.
can make a
I
list
have-
of not so
I
great
have
ones.
the list. I'm just trying
There's
to.
a wide range.
I'm trying to accentuate your point there. So Latham, of course, the year before, Tyree Wilson was drafted by the Raiders with the 7th pick. Evan Neal with the Giants, Penei Sewell, Derek Brown with the Panthers, Josh Hines Allen with the Jaguars, Josh Allen, the quarterback, Mike Williams, the receiver, DeForest Buckner, Kevin White, Mike Evans. That's since 2014. So yes, absolutely, William. I'm not arguing with you. I was just curious who the recent 7th overall picks in the drafts have been.
I mean, listen, you hope that when you're picking that high, you're getting more so of a surefire pick. That's why, to me, it's like, okay, listen, any GM can pick, in the top 10 or 15, or they should be able to pick. Let's just say that any GM or head coach or whoever scouts, they can scout those top 10 guys, but only a few can scout from 50 to whatever the number is after that. Only a few can do that. I want to see those guys. Those are the guys, because again, you're going to have your hits and misses with your top picks. And a lot of times, usually everybody is in consensus, whether they fail or not, the player fails or not. Everybody pretty much has that player as a top 5 or top 3 player. What about the guys after that? The guys out of the first and second round. How many of those guys are you picking right?
615-737-1025. Reminder, ask D-Mace at 12:30. We'll talk to Vondre Sweat on the other side, the 2nd round pick of the Titans in this past draft. Our thoughts on Tavondre Sweat's performance so far this season. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, the game. We can make this one shorter.
I don't know who these guys are. Tyree Wilson, Evan Neal.
Evan Neal's been benched.
Mark your calendars, November 9th, and get ready to feel the thrill at the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show, which is coming to Nashville this Saturday, November 9th at the fairgrounds. You're going to have all-female riders from all over the world will be in attendance. Come out and see some of these beautiful custom bikes, from choppers to mini bikes, from cruisers to sports bikes. All makes and models are encouraged to come. Get your tickets now at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com. That's IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by our friends over at Law Tigers. Enjoy a day of live food, live music, vendor village, tasty foods, and so much more. Show off your bike in one of their many competitions and win cash prizes. All spectators are welcome, and kids under 16 are free with a paid ticket. So get your tickets today, IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by Law Tigers. It will be at the fairgrounds November 9th this Saturday. Get your tickets. Can't wait to see you there.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063 The Game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan talking Titans rookies. We talked J.C. Latham. Now we're going to talk about Meatloaf. I should have
My
had
man
I should
Meatloaf.
have had us come back with that. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a minute since we really talked about Devondre Sweat.
That's a good thing, eh?
It's about time
He
for
answers
Meatloaf.
to one nickname and one nickname only.
Right.
Yes.
Meatloaf.
Not T-Pain.
Right.
As
Mom,
not as Brian
got the
Baldinger.
That is so funny.
You want some meatloaf? Yeah, I'd like some
You want
meatloaf.
Mom,
Hey, Mom.
Mom, where's the meatloaf?
Maybe David can find
Oh,
the
man.
edited version that Frazier put together for us. But
Oh,
Devondre
goodness.
Sweat, drafted in the second round by the Tennessee Titans. One question that we all had was, would he be able to stay on the field for a majority of the team's defensive snaps? He has played 66.5%
Mm.
of the defensive snaps. He does not have any sacks. He has 8 quarterback pressures.
A or 8?
8.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah, I was
7,
about
8.
to say, he got to have more than
He
just
has
one.
8 pressures.
Uh-huh.
But what do you, I know Jared is listening. I like that he listens to our show, except when I say something about the hockey team and then I ask him, did you actually hear what I had to say? And he said, no. So I'm glad he's listening at some point.
He might be hearing, but is he listening? Is he
Yes.
absorbing? My teachers
Yes,
used to
yes,
ask me that.
exactly.
I know you're here and you're hearing, but are you really listening to me? Though?
Yes. I would always
Are
look
you
at him
absorbing like a sponge? Are
I'm
you
listening
bringing in the
now,
knowledge?
but I can't say I was listening 10 minutes ago.
I often feel like Jared. He's there. I give my take or I text him. Is he really absorbing?
or is he
Is he
processing?
absorbing the
Or is he
knowledge and the
looking-
wisdom that I'm imparting
Is he-
to him?
is he hearing to just respond, or is he
Yeah.
listening?
Oh no, he's
to
just ready with his
understand?
comeback
Yes.
90% of the
So
time.
Jared actually, I think, attempted to do an impression of me yesterday.
He did.
I think he
Did he?
he tried. He made one of those really extra stereotypical nerdy voices, like.
Yeah.
"Nah, nah, 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 nah." I don't sound like that. At least I don't think I sound like that. I'm still working on my Jared impression, but I will play the role of Jared in this conversation. You can't draft a run stuffing DT with the 38th overall pick when he doesn't pressure the quarterback and he doesn't sack the quarterback. Your thoughts?
A guy his size.
Mhm.
Tell me in the history of the National Football League, a guy his size that is known for quarterback pressures, quarterback hits. Now, there aren't that many guys his size. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that is what you're looking for from him. It's great if he can be that, but I think he is serving a big purpose and will for a long time. I think he is an athletic guy who's grading well. And D-Mace,
Mhm.
you've got the grades.
Mhm.
And I think that is a hit on the second round pick. So Jared says he doesn't hit the quarterback. You can't use that with the 37th pick. So maybe you'd rather have Kevin Dodd.
He was supposed to be able to get the
He was the
quarterback.
33rd pick. Maybe you'd rather have Austin Johnson. He was the 43rd pick. He was the second round. Maybe you'd rather have Dorial Green Beckham or Bishop Sankey or Justin Hunter. These are all second round picks that were total flops. My point is there's a wide range of guys. I don't care what round you pick and what pick we're talking about. When you draft, there's a wide range of places it can go. And this is why I always circle the 20 to 22 drafts, because they were full of complete whiffs. So Jared wants to nitpick about this guy and Sweat when people were wondering if he would even get on the field and pass the physical
Mhm.
to be able to practice. This guy's on the field for 67% of the plays. He does some things on the field that are really good for a rookie, and he's young. He should get better. This is a hit on a team that desperately needs more hits. There's
Yeah.
a lot of whiffs we can get to, but not him. I think he's been really good.
I think their top 2 picks have, whereas they got room to improve. There's a lot of room to improve, but I think they are optimistic and they're happy with their first 2 picks in the draft. I do believe that. Listen, football is about what? Acquiring good players, and then in hopes that those good players then go out there and play together and play in such a way that you ultimately win ball games. T'Vondre Sweat is a good player. There's nothing wrong. Tell me in what world there's something wrong with adding a good player. He's a good player. He's a guy, yes. Everybody can't get to the quarterback. They have right now, they have 3 guys that they believe can get to the quarterback. Simmons, who it's been a disappointing season thus far for him.
Right.
Harold
That's
Landry,
the disappointment.
Yeah,
to me.
Harold Landry and Arden Key. Arden Key is playing with his hair on fire right now. Harold Landry is just a steady guy. He's going to get his sacks.
Will Arden Key keep playing with his hair on fire now that the trade deadline?
No, I
is
think he will
passed?
because he
fair
understands. He's already said
He's
you're
gotta play for a
auditioning.
contract
Yeah,
next year. Right?
he's on the last year of his deal,
That's fair.
so he's going to play with his hair on fire. I think continually. Then you got Harold Landry, who's just been steady Eddie. He's going to get you 10 plus sacks just about each and every year. So you got 3 guys that are going to get you sacks. Joseph Day, he may get you some sacks here and there. You don't have to look to T'Vondre Sweat to get you sacks. What T'Vondre Sweat does, what good players do, is they make other team game plan for them. That's what T'Vondre Sweat does. He makes you game plan for him. Why? Because you gotta occupy him with 2 guys. That's game planning. That ain't just saying, oh, he's a horrible player, we still gonna put 2 guys on him. I've never seen anybody in the National Football League put 2 guys on a bad player. Never in my life. If you have, please send me the video of it. Okay?
Willie, were you ever guarded by 2 players in your college basketball days?
I'm glad when you said college, I was hoping you were going to say high school. High school, yes.
Yes, high school, yes.
College,
That's just a little different.
not so much.
Listen.
No.
Before I started to
Unless they were double teaming me with the idea of we can take the ball from this guy. He'll throw us the ball if we double team him. Now that's the different story. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So before I started to do my thing, you think anybody thought about double teaming me? Hell no. But when I showed that I was a good player, it was like, okay, we got to really pay attention to this guy over here. We may have to double team him, majority of the time. So that's what we got to. That's what good players do, Jared. Good players make you account for them. And that is what T'Vondre Sweat is doing. He's making other offensive linemen and teams account for him when he's in the game. That's why I'm so surprised about Jeffrey Simmons. Like, you got this big fella on the side of you, and he's commanding a double team. He is commanding a double team, okay? Unless they're running away from him. He's commanding a double team. So if he is, then I believe your numbers should be a little bit better than what they are.
But I love the standard that Jared sets for these picks.
Oh,
right?
of course, I get it.
You
I
should
get it.
be good as the. Well, yeah, we all
Yeah,
hope that the guy is.
exactly.
But Justin Hunter, 34th pick. Bishop Sankey, Dorial Green Beckham, 40th pick. There are so many levels, right? So let's be thankful that you have somebody that is doing some good things. And
He's a good player. You can never have too many
and
good
I think
players.
he's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
I like his makeup. I like his work ethic.
Mhm.
He's going to get better. These are hits, right? These are not things to. There's a long list of other things
Mhm.
that are big question marks about how they've gone about building the roster. But these 2 guys,
But Willie,
I think, are good, solid picks.
yeah, and it's only his first season.
Right.
As he starts to really learn this game and starts to put more things in his repertoire, more moves he can make, this kid is going to be much better than what he is now, barring injury. So you got a big fella right now that commands a double team. He's still a baby in the game, so he hasn't developed his moves. Once he starts developing these counter moves, he's going to be able to become a better player. Jeffrey Simmons wasn't Jeffrey Simmons his first season. He had to learn. He had to go through some things. Then he became that guy that we look to that can be a playmaker. Again, this year has been something different than what we've seen of Jeffrey. So, but before that, this was a guy that we knew as he started to really figure this game out, he became a dominant force. Look at all the dominant forces in the National Football League at that position. They probably wasn't that their first season. You probably saw glimpses here and there, but they wasn't that dominant person. But as they started to build on their career, as they started to learn the game, as they started to add things to their repertoire, then they became a dominant player. I see that for T'Vondre Sweat. He's going to learn a couple more moves. He's going to be a guy. This is what he's going to be. He's going to be the guy that demands a double team just about every time, especially as you start to really know this game. And he may only end up at the end of the season with like 3 or 4 sacks. That's it.
This is the disappointing part to me, is that it hasn't led to more good
Exactly.
matchups
Yeah.
and action plays by Jeffrey Simmons. That is the part that I can't figure out why that isn't happening. And now Jeffrey Simmons is banged up again, and there's still half a season left, and I don't know what's going on with him. But I like what Sweat is giving them long term.
615-737-1025. It is time for Ask D-Mace. Get your calls and texts in. 615-737-1025. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight for Vanderbilt women's basketball. The Commodores will be at Memorial Gym taking on Austin Peay. Tip-off is at 6:30 and pregame begins at 6:15. Coverage is also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank. In just over an hour, we will take it to the bank. 1:45. We do it every Friday, and we'll make our predictions. And I'm really mad at the New York Giants, by the way, for going for 2 twice instead of just kicking the extra points, and it would have had an easy cover for points for me in our competition. But that's beside the point. The point is F&M Bank has had a great sponsorship with us. We have a lot of fun on the show, but their motto is the one that they want you to remember, and that is banking made easy on purpose. They're going to make your life easier by making your financial world easier, and that is regardless of where you are in life. If you're looking to save money, if you're looking as a business owner to have a better relationship with your banking, these are things that they can do for you. If you're looking for a home loan, they can do these things. They're right in the middle of your community. They've got 20 locations. So find the nearest one. There are 26 in Clarksville. There's one up in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Nashville on West End Avenue, Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, Springfield. They're all there. Just find the one that's nearest you by going to myfmbank.com. That's myfmbank.com. F&M Bank, banking made easy on purpose. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
G-Mace.
He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D-Mace.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for Ask D-Mace on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. So nice. We're doing it twice because last Friday we forgot to do it. It just slipped our mind until David walked into the studio right before the end of the show and says, Are we doing Ask D-Mace today? We were like, wait, we didn't do Ask D-Mace today? So we did 2 this week. We did it on Tuesday. Great participation. So we will do it again today. Get your questions in for Derek, 615-737-1025. Mostly nothing is off limits. I screen these questions. But Derek is an open book. He's willing to answer
Absolutely.
pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So let's start with Caleb on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. He says, D-Mace, should the Predators have a Herb Brooks-esque practice and have to skate sprints again and get this losing out of their system? I'll hang up and listen.
If they had a game once a week, then yeah, I would do it. But unlike football, hockey, basketball, baseball, they play, it seems like every other day. So running them to death or skating them, until their tongues are wagging, is counterintuitive to what you're probably trying to get out of them. You ain't gonna do nothing but make them more tired. So when they get in the game, they're gonna be done. So I understand the premise, and I like the premise and what you're talking about, the ideal. But because hockey, they played a back-to-back, basically last night, and had to travel. So just think if you made them come in after they got in at 3:00 in the morning, then made them get up at 7, 8 o'clock to do some wind sprints on the ice, and then tell them to go out there, they would have got beat 20-0. So, I understand the sentiment and everything, what he's saying, but it's hard to do.
You don't see the bag skate very often, Willie. That's a break glass in case of emergency
That's
sort of
what-
situation.
That's one of those things. You've tried everything else, but now you just gotta, what do they call it again?
They call them bag skates.
Yeah, you gotta bag skates.
Yeah.
It's just skating up and down and up and down and up and down.
Bag skates until I get tired.
Right.
So is the bag skates, do you actually wear the skates you would wear in the game, or
Well,
do you just throw on
If you
some?
want a visual, if you've seen the movie Miracle,
Which
right?
is what
The
Caleb is referring
yeah,
to.
that's the ultimate, probably the
Yeah.
ultimate bag skate where you just.
But I'm saying, do you put on some of your old skates that
No, you
had
just
more?
wear
I
your.
don't
I think you
it's
just wear your
whatever.
normal gear.
I think my experience with that was we called it, well, because we numbered every practice number 75 when I was a freshman.
Uh-huh.
And we ended up winning the NIT. We had lost 7 games in a row and all close games. And he ran our butts off, man. It was, I'll never forget that practice.
You're still tired, aren't you?
Still tired. Yeah. It was like, it was the Herb Brooks again, it was that kind of thing. He was just testing our will.
Well,
I
how
don't-
were
so-
you punished? How were you and your teammates punished in practice if you had a bad game?
In the pros, you're not. It's just like you lose your job ultimately if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. He didn't sit there. Fish didn't sit there and make us run sprints. That wasn't gonna get none out of anybody.
What about
Now,
college?
Now in college, yeah. If you did something like Nick Saban would start the practice over again. Over. Like we got 25, 35 minutes left in practice. We're starting all of this over again. That's when they monitor you the way they monitor you now. Nick would start practice over again. That's what used to happen in college. Now in high school, Coach Lynch would run you all day. He didn't care. He'd run you all day if he needed to. Up, downs, up, downs, up, downs.
I remember when I was a sophomore or junior, they put in the NCAA, the quote 20-hour rule, which I don't even know if that's still a rule.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where I don't think anybody really
Yeah,
was
no.
keeping
Because wasn't
track,
nobody
like,
checking.
Yeah.
You know,
But
so-
I remember as a player going, "Ooh, this is great. He can't keep us here any
You're
longer.
right.
He can't do this." Like by rule. I was like, "That's not.
Yeah.
That's not."
You're
gonna
looking at
fly.
your watch, Coach.
Exactly.
We've been practicing
Coach,
for
that's-
19 hours and
that's-
58 minutes.
You have to. We can't start practice over, Coach, because this is 20 hours.
it didn't matter.
I didn't do that. That was
Oh,
that would not
man.
have worked.
Joey from
flown.
Gallatin is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joey, welcome in. What's your question for
Hey,
Derek?
guys. All righty. If I'm not mistaken, Derek D. Mace, you have a son, correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
How are your? I know you've talked about it before. What are your feelings on him playing football and pursuing a career in football?
Thank you for the question. I appreciate
Thank you,
it, Joey.
Joey.
That's a good question. You know, when Derek was obviously when he was born, I was still playing. So it's like you always have that vision of, okay, your son doing what you are doing, or he eventually will do it. He will end up loving it and sort of make that his career. And I thought that was going to be the case. I thought he was, good enough. But as I started to watch him, I didn't think that was his path. That wasn't his sort of lot in life. His lot in life wasn't to go down the same sort of road that I went down. Did he enjoy playing football? Yeah. But did he love it? No, he didn't. And that's okay. I had to realize that was okay. But what I tell you, he is 20 times smarter and more intelligent than I am. And he's using his sort of, I call it superpower, to hopefully eventually help others when it comes to, your brain, because he wants to be a neurosurgeon. And he will go back to med school. He will start med school. He took a year off and he ended up taking the test again and starting up on once all that stuff kind of go through. But I was extremely, and when I mean extremely happy, I was extremely happy when my son came to me and he said, "Dad, I don't want to play anymore." I said, "Okay." I said, "That's cool." I mean, because it's not about me. And so many parents, fathers, they don't know how to take themselves out of it. They always interject themselves into it and not really looking at what's best for their son. And I saw it very early, like, okay, if he don't want to play, I am not going to pressure him to play. But what I did tell him was, listen, finish it out, because you got to do that. Finish it out. And when you're done, if you still feel that way, go tell your coach. Telling me, I'm glad you told me, but I'm not the one that's, it's not my decision to make. It's yours. He went and told his coach he was done. I was good with it. I was happy. I'm like, good. Why? Because I worked too hard. I got hit too many times for my son to have to go through what I went through. The only reason he has to go through it, two reasons. The only two reasons he would have to go through it, one is if he loved it, or two, he felt he had to do it. He didn't love it. And I always told him, you don't have to do this. I did it so you don't have to do it. I did it so I could send you to a good school. I did it so I could send you to a good college. I did it so you don't have to do those things that I had to do. That's the way I approached it. And the kid's been fine. He's a headache sometimes, but he made the best decision for him, not me. And I'm not going to even say I let him make it, but hey, listen, if he didn't want to play, I wasn't going to argue with him, because it's not my life. It's yours. So,
By the way, before we get to our next question, Brian Callahan has announced that Will Levis will start at quarterback on Sunday. It was trending in that direction, but it is now official. Will Levis will be back at quarterback for the Titans on Sunday against the Chargers. Our friend Eric is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, with a question for Derek and a dad joke, of course. Eric, please go ahead.
Hey, guys, I'll be honest. 90% of the dad jokes I tell, I either hear from other people or I see on TV. So it's very, very rarely that I'll make up a joke. This one is a joke I made up on my own. I hope you like it, because I think a couple of groaners that I've had actually have been jokes I made up. So I hope you like this. What do you get when you cross a bedtime story with wool?
with wool,
Yeah.
I don't know.
A good yarn.
Itchy story or something like that, because wool is itchy.
No, a cottontail.
Okay,
Not
okay,
bad,
okay.
not
I
bad.
like that one. I
Okay.
like that one.
Yeah. That's the one I made up myself. So
Okay.
Copyright
Okay.
Eric.
Yes.
yeah. So D Mace, I am going to talk NFL, but it's actually going to be an interesting game this weekend. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and that's the game when Pittsburgh plays Washington this Sunday. And I kind of like the Steelers in the game because for several different reasons. Number one, Steelers are coming off a bye, and usually Mike Tomlin is great coming off a bye. Also, I heard somewhere where he's got his record against rookie quarterbacks is 25-6. So he's great in scheming up against games against rookie quarterbacks. But also, I think, too, that Jaden Daniels really, I don't know if to this point, has really had a bad game, and I think he's kind of due for a bad game, and it could be against this team. But also, from what I understand, if you look at his record, even though Washington, I think, is 7-2, I think the only team that they've beaten that's 500 better, I think, is the Bears, and that was, of course, on the Hail Mary. I think their two losses, I know they lost to the Ravens. I can't remember who else they lost to, if it was Atlanta or somebody else like that. I don't remember. But just wanted to get your thoughts on that because the thing also is interesting. After this game, Washington has a short week. They go to Philadelphia and play the Eagles. So it's going to be real interesting to find out really how good this team is. Just get your thoughts on that. Guys, y'all take care. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And those things he said about Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, those are true as far as who they played, because we understand that because of their record last year, they got sort of a lighter schedule in a sense, even though I don't believe there's any easy schedules in the National Football League, but they did get, based upon winning percentages, they did get a lighter schedule. Here's the deal. Each and every year, for some reason, people expect Mike Tomlin to just fall off the cliff. People expect Mike Tomlin to get sort of tired of his job, that his message will get old, that his message will get stale. But yet and still, he has reinvented himself each and every year. He is the only coach that has had a winning record throughout his career as a head coach. The only coach. Now, granted, he doesn't have the championships that Bill Belichick do, and I'm not saying that he is Bill Belichick. But to go out there and put a team, a competitive team on the field every game, in the midst of having quarterback issues, guys getting injured, your best players not playing or your best players being disruptive in the locker room, Tomlin's going to lose the locker room because of this guy and that guy. And what happens at the end of the day? Mike Tomlin keeps his locker room intact, and Mike Tomlin makes the decisions that is best for his organization, not one particular player. That's why the Pittsburgh Steelers have only had, 3 coaches in its lifetime? 3 coaches, and each coach won a Super Bowl. So I don't know why you would ever count out Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it seems like they're playing really good football. Their defense is one of the top defenses when it comes to scoring, scoring against them. I think they're giving up just over 14 points, close to 15 points a game. That's a defense that has been plagued with injuries. But yet and still, one thing Pittsburgh Steelers do is they play defense. So I don't understand why people, continue to count this man out and his team out, because they've been a model franchise from day one. So it's going to be hard for the Washington Commanders to, what do they play them at? Is it in Pittsburgh? Or
That's a good question. I also did see that Marshawn Lattimore will not play for Washington this weekend. He is recovering from a hamstring injury, so he will not make his Commanders debut. It is Steelers at Commanders on Sunday.
And this is going to be a true test for Jaden Daniels. It's going to be, because you have one of the best defenses going up against this rookie phenom in Jaden Daniels and McLaurin or those guys. They're playing lights out on offense. They're doing the things necessary to win ball games. Granted, based upon winning percentages and how their schedule was put together, maybe it's not the hardest schedule, but anytime you got to go out there on a Sunday or a Monday or a Thursday when you play, it's going to be a hard game. But I'd still look at this game as a true measuring stick for the Washington Commanders. If they can get through this and beat Pittsburgh, I do believe they are for real this year.
Our last question on Ask D Mace is from D Hayes from Nashville. And this is something I've heard a lot, not just with the Titans, but other teams that could be in position to draft this particular player. D Hayes asks, D Mace, if the Titans draft Shador Sanders to be their quarterback, what can his dad really do that is bad? That is that bad to affect the Titans. I feel like this is something that's been said about a lot about the teams that could draft Shador Sanders. Well, that means you got to deal with Dion too. Is it that? I mean, is that overblown?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Listen, he's there to protect his son.
Eric said that the game's in Washington.
Yes, the game is in Washington.
He's doing whatever he needs to do to protect his son. It's not dealing with Deion Sanders. You're going to be dealing with Shador Sanders and his agency, whoever it is. You know, his dad is not going to be, sticking his head or his nose in all affairs relating to whoever drafts him. But like Manning and like quarterbacks before him who've chosen, or parents who've chosen to sort of, be an instrumental part of their child's development in his league. Yeah, you can be a part of it, but ultimately it's the team and the individual player that you're dealing with. You're not dealing with, and Coach Sanders understands that, but he wants to make sure, just like, Manning, he wanted to make sure his son went to the best team where he can not only win, but he could also benefit from, whatever endorsements or whatnot. He wanted Eli to go to New York, so he told the Chargers not to draft him. And what happened? Nobody made a big deal about that. So I don't see anything different here. I like it that, Primetime want to make sure his son is well taken care of. But ultimately, it comes down to Shador Sanders. And I hope the Titans have an opportunity to draft him, because I think he can be what Jaden Daniels is now. He can be what C.J. Stroud was last year. Any of these quarterbacks that came in and had wonderful, starts of their careers, I think Shador Sanders can be that and some. Why? Because he's already been tested. He has NFL coaches around him. Pat Shermer, who's coached in the NFL, who's his offensive coordinator. He was with me and when I was at Michigan State. He was a tight ends coach. So I know Pat. He knows offenses. So he's been groomed already. And the stuff that he's taken, he got thick skin, man. If you don't whoever has the number 1 pick or number 2 pick, if you need a quarterback, if you don't draft Shador Sanders, something's wrong with you.
615-737-1025. Thank you for all of your questions on another edition of Ask D-Mace. Coming up next, we will get into the Titans and Chargers again. As we mentioned during the segment, Will Levis confirmed as the starter for the Titans against the Chargers. We'll see Will Levis in action for the first time in a month. What are we expecting? We'll discuss that next. Tune into 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville tomorrow for MTSU football. The Blue Raiders will take on Liberty at home. Pregame starts at 10:30 and kickoff is at noon. MTSU football coverage on 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville is presented by Sloan's Motorcycle ATV. D-Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. We will discuss Will Levis. But first, before we do that, we go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome Joe Reedy, Los Angeles reporter for the Associated Press, to give us the Chargers perspective of this weekend's game. And Joe, your latest story is about the Titans and Chargers bringing two of the top defenses in the NFL into their meeting on Sunday. In the story, you write that the Chargers have allowed a league low 12.6 points per game this season. They are the first team since the 2019 Patriots to allow 20 or fewer points in each of their first 8 games. What's been the Chargers' secret defensively this season?
I think you got credit a lot of it to defensive coordinator Jesse Minter coming in. You look at the turnaround Jesse had in his 2 seasons at the University of Michigan, getting that unit to play well. He's had the same effect here. I think his scheme, while maybe being simple at times, it's relatable. It empowers the players a lot to react and gives it, and I think it empowers the players more. And I think the biggest difference maybe between this defensive system and the one of the past 3 years, it's very adaptable to the players, and it puts a lot on the players because, as Minter told us during the off season, I may call a play in the huddle, but if things change, it's up to you guys to adapt and read and react. I give you the tools, and it's up to you guys to execute. And I think they've done that so far. I think the pass rush and the pass coverage have been very complementary to each other. They've allowed a lot of less big plays. Besides leading the league in scoring defense, they have the second highest rate of 3 and outs in the league. So they're getting off the field quicker. Really doing a good job in playing discipline. I think their one bad game this year was that Monday night game against Arizona, where they gave up a ton of rushing yards. But other than that, I think so far, when you talk about the turnaround of the Chargers, the defense has been the biggest and most surprising and biggest pleasant surprise, I would say.
Speaking of the pass coverage, Titans fans, of course, are familiar with Elijah Molden. They traded him to the Chargers for a 7th-round pick before the season. He has 3 interceptions so far this season to lead the Chargers. Many Titans fans are looking at that and saying to themselves, where was that Elijah Molden as a member of the Tennessee Titans? What's been working for Molden with the Chargers?
I think he's been playing mostly safety here, but he's been in good position to make plays. The interception he had last week for his 3rd one was kind of a volleyball-like play where Cam Hart was near the out of bounds marker and tipped it, and Molden was right there in the end zone and was able to pick it off. I think that he's getting more opportunities here, which is a big reason he has to be traded or released from the Titans. And I think also maybe new regime and everything, especially going into his last year. And as a guy, playing for free agency next year and everything, he's certainly made the most of his opportunities. And I think it's a pretty good secondary he's been in this year. Christian Fulton, another former Titan, has played well so far. He didn't play last week due to a hamstring injury, kind of questionable so far this week. But when you play on a secondary too with Derwin James, that tends to up the competition level for a lot of guys.
Yeah, Joe, we've heard that a lot when he was here. The whole a hamstring issue. He missed too many games because of that. We're talking with Joe Reedy of the Associated Press, talking Tennessee Titans and the LA Chargers, who they will host the Titans this weekend. Now, looking at Quentin Johnston, obviously it didn't start off too well for him. But it seems like the last 5 games, he has 4 touchdowns over the last 5 games. Do you start to see him now coming in a form? And if you do, what do you think has been the change?
I think the fact that he's more assured going into year two. I think you look at first round wide receivers throughout the league, unless you're Jamar Chase or an AJ Green or the LSU guy who's playing with the Giants right now, whom many thought Neighbors, whom
yes.
many thought that the Chargers should take a flyer on in the first round this year. First round receivers are going to struggle, and I mean, that rookie year, and you're basically going nonstop from your last year of college through the combine and everything. It's almost like 2 years in one, for lack of a better term. And I think that caught up to Quentin. But this offense with Greg Roman, it's taken more advantage of the downfield passing game. Justin Herbert's got more of a rapport with them. He had a good start to the season. I think 3 touchdowns in the first 3 games, and was getting open a lot. Battled an ankle injury over the past couple games, but came back against Cleveland and had his first 100-yard game. It kind of seems like with this young and slightly inexperienced receiving core, different guys are starting to pick things up. Ladd McConkey the last 3-4 weeks has become one of Justin Herbert's most dependable targets. Will Dissly, but also the past couple of games too, Joshua Palmer has turned into a downfield threat. His last 4 receptions, and I think 5 or 6 of his last 7 have been for at least 23 yards. So he's kind of becoming that downfield threat that maybe Mike Williams was for a couple of years here.
Now, everybody understands that Jim is a winner no matter where he goes, whether it would be him in San Diego State, him at Michigan, him in San Francisco, his first stint in the NFL, and now obviously with the LA Chargers, and they expect the same thing. But how long are the fan base willing to wait? Because it seems like he has that team on track now. But is there like a timetable when they believe they will be true contenders? Because they're still building this team up the way Jim wants it.
Yeah, I think if this team can go 10-7 or 11-6, which right now in the AFC looks like that would be a wild card berth. And if it could get a wild card berth this year, I think you would say the program is further ahead than maybe it is, than maybe many thought. But also, this was a Jim Harbaugh who, in 2011, his first year in San Francisco, in a lockout year with a team that had a lot less talent than the one he was inheriting with the Chargers, he got into the NFC Championship game. So I think when you look at Jim Harbaugh, anything's possible. And, if you can get a team to the playoffs that maybe is half the 3-4s built the way him and general manager Joe Ortiz might want it, I think that the fan base would be very happy as long as they're competitive and playing well, and there's not in those losses the chargering and everything. Now I think we saw that in the Arizona Monday night game. But also, as long as this team is not consistently losing close games or blowing in the fourth quarter, I think the fan base would be pleased.
Talking to Joe Reedy, who covers the Chargers for the Associated Press. Joe, I'm curious your view of what we're seeing from afar, and we heard it philosophically when they decided to take Joe Alt. That was sort of the roundabout way of saying we're going to get more out of Justin Herbert by giving him good run support and not worrying about who the wide receivers are. They've had the name wide receivers like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen move on, but yet they've been a more efficient offensive team despite that. So what are you seeing from that standpoint, how that has come together?
I think as long as this offense has a sense of balance, it opens things up, because his rookie year, Justin Herbert was very effective as a downfield passer in that intermediate and especially the long game. And we're starting to see that again. And I think a big reason why is even though the run success metrics percentage and everything is way lower than the league average, and the 0 and negative yards are up there, it's still a patient run game that we're committed to it. And yeah, it might look slow and plodding at times, but there's still the threat to get the big gains and everything, like what we're seeing from J.K. Dobbins. And this has been with Gus Edwards battling injuries the entire year. Now, if they could get a 2 running back system with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins going, I think that opens it up even more. But I think we've seen the last 3-4 weeks, especially with a healthier Justin Herbert, that and also working with the receivers and everything, with his ability, and also, with these receivers, maybe it's going over expectations so far. It does open things up, brings a sense of balance. Defenses cannot load up 7 or 8 to stop the pass. I mean, this was a team that under Brandon Staley for 3 years had the second highest percentage of pass plays in the league. I think it was around 64-65%. And that percentage isn't going to win a lot of ball games. Because I think there's also the adage of 40 attempts sometimes equals death and losses. And Herbert had a lot of 40 attempt games. So as long as there's a sense of balance and teams have to respect the run, it opens up those beyond 10-yard passes. And I think we've seen that the last 3 weeks. And then, when teams are looking at that intermediate and long, all of a sudden J.K. Dobbins can come in and do a 15, 16-yard run or do some catching out of the backfield, which keeps teams honest too. So the fact that this is an offense that can adapt, which we haven't seen since 2021, has also been very encouraging.
Joe, I would say at least 2/3 conservatively of the mock drafts before the draft had Joe Alt going to the Titans with the 7th pick. And of course, Jim Harbaugh took Alt a couple of picks before that. What did you think of that at the time? And how do you think that pick has worked out with Alt playing at the right tackle position?
Knowing Harbaugh's philosophy, I was okay with it. And I think we've also seen that when Dallas used a lot of picks from 2010 to 2015 building that offensive line, that was a one area of the Cowboys, I think, where teams didn't have to worry about because it ended up being a pretty stout offensive line. So I was okay with it. Alt has been very solid the first half of the year. Now, he struggled last week against Cleveland, but who doesn't struggle against Myles Garrett in that front? Rashawn Slater, also another first-round pick, struggled when going up against Myles Garrett too. I mean, the line gave up 6 sacks in the first half, but didn't give up any in the second half. So I think Alt has exceeded expectations so far, playing well for the 5th overall pick, and they've got their right tackle for years to come now.
Joe Reedy, Associated Press reporter in Los Angeles, joining us to preview Titans and Chargers. Joe, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the game this weekend.
No problem. Take care.
Joe Reedy joining us on the program, 615-737-1025. As we've discussed, Will Levis will be back under center for the Tennessee Titans on Sunday. What do we expect from him in his return? We'll discuss that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Mark your calendars, November 9th at the fairgrounds. Get your tickets now to the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show, which again will be at the fairgrounds and will be here on November 9th, which is this Saturday. Listen, all female riders from all over will be here. We'll be in attendance. So come out and see some of these beautiful custom bikes, from choppers to mini bikes, from cruisers to sports bikes. All makes and models are encouraged to come. Get your tickets now at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by our friends over at Law Tigers. Enjoy a day of live music, vendor village, tasty foods, and so much more. Show off your bike in one of their many competitions and win cash prizes. All spectators are welcome, and kids under 16 are free with a paid ticket. So get your tickets today for the show tomorrow, which is November 9th. The Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com, which is sponsored by Law Tigers at the fairgrounds tomorrow, which is November 9th, people. So can't wait to see you there.
Reason to wait. Will's going to play. Had a really good week of practice. Feels really good. Best. Other than that, Will start this week. Just let you guys know that now. No reason to wait. Will's going to play. Had a really good week of practice. Feels really good. Best he's looked in a couple of weeks. So excited to see him go play.
D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. That jugs machine was very distracting in that clip. But as you heard Brian Callahan say, Will Levis will start for the Titans against the Chargers on Sunday. We will see Will Levis for the first time since week 6, when he had a grand total of 95 yards against the Indianapolis Colts. He had 1 interception, which he sort of blamed on his shoulder injury. And then for the past few weeks, we haven't seen Will Levis. But he's going to be back under center for the Titans on Sunday. And we were talking earlier about some of the rookies on the team, namely J.C. Latham and T'Vondre Sweat, and the progress they've made and what we want to see from them through the rest of the season, because that's what really the rest of the season is about, is finding out which players on this team can be part of the solution moving forward. And, you know, Will Levis is certainly in the, I don't think he's part of the solution category right now. But what are we anticipating from Will Levis this weekend, playing for the first time in about a month? And is there anything he can do over the course of the rest of the season to change people's minds about whether or not he can be this team's starting quarterback?
I think there's a lot he can do. He's going to have an opportunity. But I think we're at the point now, it's like, you got to show me. Like, I'm in this category of I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
But look, this is why you play. This is why you roll a guy out there. They have no other choice. So if he makes the most of this opportunity, then he can change people's minds. It's happened before.
Yeah, and he's got to realize that, you know, this may be it, you know. So he has to have, regardless of how the team does, I think he has to change people's minds. He has to play the position in a competent way. And when I mean competent way, I mean not make some of these sort of bonehead mistakes that is costing your team. Because besides that, I think based upon his completion percentage and whatnot, at times he does play it the way you want him to play it. Is it flashy? Is it getting you points and big yardage? No. But it's sort of moving the ball down the field in a sense in regards to what they're asking him to do. It's those bonehead plays, and he's made far too many of them. So he has to understand that this is it. He has to show that he's a competent quarterback first, and then, you know, he can kind of go from there. But if he goes out and he shows that after sitting for the last, 3 weeks, if he goes out there and shows he hadn't learned anything by just watching, then he's not going to be the quarterback for next year. He's just not. So, you know, this is his last shot. At least that's what I feel. That's how I believe.
I remember we got a text a couple of weeks ago about, we asked the question, like, what are you rooting for the rest of the season? Are you rooting for the Titans? Are you rooting against the Titans? Are you rooting for something within the game? And we got a texter who said that they're hoping for a Jordan Love-like second half from Will Levis. Now, to remind people, in Jordan Love's final 8 regular season games last season, he completed 70% of his passes, threw 18 touchdowns and 1 interception, and got paid because of it. I think it would be a stretch to expect Will Levis to do something like that. But I'm wondering if, I mentioned this the other day, I don't think Will Levis is thinking like this, but I've caught myself thinking like this, that if there was a silver lining to Will Levis being out of the lineup, it's that we know that there are many more problems on this team than just the quarterback. The quarterback hasn't helped. But if Mason Rudolph would have played these past few games and the Titans looked that much better and they were winning these games, then you could say, well, hey, Will Levis, that's the issue. But clearly there's more than just Will Levis going on. I'm wondering, I mean, there's going to be pressure on him, as Derek said, because he needs to show that he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I'm wondering, like, what the best case scenario is. I'm not expecting Jordan Love type numbers in the second half of last season. That was an incredible run.
And it's almost fair to say was that a true indication of what Jordan Love is going to be, right? He was lights out. He was on a roll, and he's had some more ups and downs, I think it's fair to say, from afar.
Yeah.
This year. So is he as good as they thought he was when they signed him to the contract? I think that's going to be an interesting
determined,
question
yeah.
going forward because they're paying him like a star quarterback. But this is why I think the 20 games is important. Jordan Love still, I don't think, has played 20 games in the league, has he?
Let me see.
Because I am the 20
I
game
think
guy.
he may
right?
have. No, I don't think it's been 20 games.
Jordan Love has played 20. He's made 25 starts.
Oh,
25.
man,
Okay. So at the time that he got the contract, he had not played 20.
No.
So he's just gone past that, and it's a little not quite what maybe they thought. But the next 20 could be even better. So you never know is really what we talk about. This is why we have sports talk shows, because you never know what's going to happen. So I'll be surprised if Levis looks way better than he's looked. You can't, but he has, there's nothing to lose now. There's nothing to lose for the season. There's no pressure. He should be loose. And let's see if he's learned a few things by stepping away for a while, sitting back and hitting the reset button.
And that's why I say it's going to be critical for him moving forward. He has to understand whether it's pressure or not. That's not the point. But he has to understand that this may be it for him. So he has to show that he's been able to watch and learn, and that they're not asking him to be perfect, but they're asking him not to do those sort of mindless things or those bonehead
Let's not
things.
hand the game. Let's not lose because of that. You know, the old thing of the game manager.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with being a game manager. Just don't lose the game.
They invented that term for a reason.
Exactly. And I think every great quarterback is a game manager to an extent, but they know how to then go win games if they need to. And Will Levis, they just want him to be a game manager right now because he hasn't figured out. They can't jump the process of, going from a quarterback that wasn't to all of a sudden knowing how to win games. No, you got to go through that process. And they're hoping that now that he's back on the field, that they're seeing him go through that process and not sort of regressing.
Have we watched enough of Mason Rudolph up close now to say that he's not a bad game manager?
No,
right?
he's not.
No.
And that is the quintessential backup quarterback. He's a solid backup quarterback who he has a feel for how to manage a game, and he's not going to light the world on fire. But now you see what this team is with him in there, and now it's time to turn to Will Levis, and we've got to just throw caution to the wind here, and let's see if he can learn how to even get to where Mason Rudolph's level is.
Liam on our text line says, even if Levis doesn't turn it on, I need to see a sign that he's found the light switch and is no longer fumbling around in the dark.
Right. I like that term.
Don't use the term fumbling with Will Levis, though. Maybe you could have chosen a different word.
Fair point.
Liam. But the other question I have is, and we touched on it a little bit earlier in the week, is the connection between Will Levis and Calvin Ridley, or lack thereof, because that was an issue. It was an issue in training camp. We talked about it in training camp. It was an issue during the beginning of the season. And with Mason Rudolph under center, Calvin Ridley seemed to turn a corner, so to speak. He still had some drops, but he made some big plays. He had a really solid statistical game against the Lions. I mean, everything else went wrong in that game. But, the last time we saw Will Levis play a game with Calvin Ridley, if I'm not mistaken, he had 0 catches on 8 targets.
This is what I want to see is the routes, because we know Mason Rudolph's arm strength limits him and what throws he can make, right? They know what throws he can make and what he can't make. Levis can make all the throws, the quote unquote, he can make all the throws. So I'm wondering if I'm going to see some of the same routes that have been successful with Ridley and Mason Rudolph are those same routes the ticket for Will Levis, and can he deliver on that? And then maybe you mix in something that attacks down the field a little more. I think what they really wanted at the start was the ability to really attack down the field, because Levis has the arm to do it. Make the defense defend the entire width of the field. Like he can cover that territory, but there wasn't enough success in there. You know,
Yeah,
it was either the real short stuff to get his completion percentage up, which was successful. A lot of screen passes, a lot of quick throws, and that didn't get them very far, right? And also the attacks down the field weren't there either.
Yeah, I think what happens is in this situation, just talking this situation, what happens is, and I know you know this, Willie, as well as Adam, when you get a marquee player, whether it be hockey, basketball, football, baseball, you want to show the fans why we got this player. You know, whatever that player
Jonathan
was advertised.
Marchessault,
Exactly.
Brady Shea, Steven Stamkos.
Yeah,
That is a big thing, right?
Exactly. You want to show them off in a sense. So Calvin Ridley was brought in here to be the deep threat guy. So you want to show him off. Well, you can't just necessarily start showing him off if you haven't built up that rapport with them, with these small things. You know, I can't all of a sudden, tell a guy to be, all I want you to do is shoot 3-pointers. No, you need to develop your game in the middle so people don't just assume like we're just going to take the 3-point away from him and you can eliminate him, period. Well, if you've developed your inside game or your mid-range game, it's harder for them now to guard you as a defender. That's the same thing that I was hoping that they were doing with Will Levis in regards to Calvin Ridley. Let's build up this rapport. Let's build up this thing between you and I. Let's build it up with the intermediate routes first, the slants, the outs, the quick ends, the bang eights. Let's build it with that. So now I'm on rhythm with you. And then we can hit the deep pass. I don't want to all of a sudden start going deep and then that's not working and then try to come short. Well, you hadn't built up any rhythm with the guy.
And
that's what they were doing with
right.
Ridley. Like when Will Levis was in there, just throw it to him deep. No, build up some rhythm with them with the short passes first.
I'm also concerned about pass protection now with some of the plays as well, that if you want to get down the field, you need a little extra time in the pocket, and I'm not sure that time's going to be there.
And no Lloyd Cushenberry.
That's what I'm saying.
Man,
for the rest of the
assuming
season.
Watson is going to
I believe Leroy Watson has been named the starting right tackle.
Leroy Watson.
I will confirm that.
So
Leroy
Brunskill at
Watson
center?
will start at right tackle, according to Paul
So
Kaharski.
Brunskill at center is what about Radens?
Brunskill at center, Radens at right
So
guard.
Radens is back at
yes,
least? Okay.
Radens
Thank
at right
goodness.
guard,
Okay.
Leroy Watson at
All
right tackle.
Fingers crossed.
In what world would y'all have even, thought or had an inkling of whatever with me saying, "Oh, great ratings, man."
Right?
Yes.
And that's a credit. That's a credit to Dylan Radens.
Yeah, it is.
And
But
the work he's
if
put
I would
in.
have said that 2 years ago or last year, people are like, "You're crazy."
Right. And this is why there's hope for Levis, right?
Yeah.
As much as you want to say, man, I can't see it, that you would have had the same skepticism.
Yeah.
Like Dylan Radens, there's no way.
Exactly.
There's no way.
By the way,
And he's-
Derek, this is something that we talked about with Calvin Ridley earlier in the season in terms of the air yards per target. So his first 3 games of the season, 21.3, 24.6, 16. Those were his air yards per target in his first 3 games. In the games that Mason Rudolph has played, so Buffalo, Detroit, and New England, 13.7, 11.4, 14.2. That's more in line with what you want, right?
Exactly. Yes. So to me, you're only doing your young quarterback a disservice when you're trying to constantly, like I said, that superpower, it's there, but don't feel you got to use it all the time. Build some other stuff up first. And it was like the Titans were like, "No, let's just use that strong arm and try to wing it down the field." No, you're not. Those are called 50-50 balls. Okay. We want to get some 70-30 balls or some 60-40 ones. We don't want 50-50 all the time. And that's what was happening when they were throwing the ball when Will Levis was the starter at the beginning and trying to hit Calvin Ridley down the field all the time. Those are 50-50 balls majority of the time. Let's build up the 70-30 and the 60-40 first.
615-737-1025. We'll take it to the bank. We'll wrap up the show. We'll give our closing thoughts on the Titans. We'll talk Vanderbilt at home against South Carolina. Sold out, by the way. So if you didn't get your tickets, sorry about your luck. But we'll talk Vanderbilt as well. We'll wrap up the week. Coming up next, Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, 1025, 1063, The Game.
It is freezing here all of a sudden.
Yes.
Hey, this is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds, only to face disappointment. At Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. That comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize their program specific to you. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D. Mace, Finken, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stoneman and Company coming up next on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It's time to take it to the bank with F&M Bank. Less worry, more living. F&M Bank. One piece of Titans news before we get to take it to the bank. L'Jarius Sneed is once again out for Sunday's game against the Chargers. Have you heard Jared? Speaking of Jared, have you heard Jared's latest conspiracy theory?
What is the
I
conspiracy
haven't, but I'm going to guess that the conspiracy theory meter will go up because, there's only so much you can talk about a Titans team that because we're just not talking about matchups against the Chargers and stuff. The Chargers are a heavy favorite. This is going to be a lot of Sundays going forward here, so he's got to fill the time. So I'm guessing the conspiracy theory meter will go up. So let the buyer beware.
The latest conspiracy theory is that L'Jarius Sneed has been out with a quad injury, which I believe he suffered when he took a helmet to the thigh against the Colts. Jared's conspiracy theory is that it may not be a quad injury. It may actually be a knee injury, and that the Titans are covering it up because they know if it was a knee injury, that people would lose it.
Oh boy!
And who among the people he's thinking about would be the ones that would be losing it?
I think he's talking about himself.
Yeah,
really?
That sounds about right.
Is that really?
Sorry if I spoiled the segment for you, Jared. He did talk about it this morning with Robbie and Joe, so I'm not spoiling anything. But let's take it to the bank.
So a knee to the thigh doesn't injure your thigh; it injures your knee. Is that what I'm getting, Doctor?
I think
Dr.
so.
Stillman.
That's what his prognosis
A
is.
knee to the thigh injures your knee.
That's when you have
Not your
nothing
thigh.
else. Nothing like I'm sure he has more to talk about than that conspiracy.
So
But
does
when
a
it's in-
thigh to the knee injure your knee?
I think it was a helmet to the thigh injured his quad.
Yeah.
Right.
Which in turn,
But he's
injures
saying
your
a
knee.
helmet to the quad
I feel like
does not injure your quad.
I feel like I'm at home
Come on.
doing head, shoulders, knees,
And
and toes with my son
Isn't
right
it
now.
on the opposite leg that his knee was hurt? I believe
These
it
are
is.
all
think so.
questions that
Yeah.
can be answered on Stillman and Company
At 2
coming up at 2 o'clock. But let's take it to the bank, David. Let's recap our picks from last week.
Oh,
All right,
man.
boys. So we really didn't have that good of a week this week.
I have a beef.
I understand. But Adam, you had Calvin Ridley touchdown. That did not happen.
No, it didn't.
Pavia had 3 total touchdowns. He had 2, but he did not have 3.
He did not.
The Packers would beat the Lions.
They certainly did not
Unfortunately,
do that.
That did not happen. But all reliable Titans QB, which is what you said, will commit 1 turnover, and that did happen.
Sure did.
Now, D Mace.
How many points do I get out of all that?
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. You had 3 points with total of 55 total points.
Okay, I'll take it.
Now, D Mace, you had Ja over 27. That did not happen,
Dang it.
unfortunately. But the Memphis Grizzlies did win, so you got a point for that. Tennessee did not have 2 turnovers. They did commit 2 turnovers, but they did not get 2 turnovers.
Okay.
And the Titans did not have a big return, which you try to slick it by saying 20 plus. We did
Y'all
say
are
30.
wrong. Y'all are wrong.
Oh
for
no,
that.
no. That is
We had to
the
set
right.
the bar a little higher.
That's the right bar to set for an
Oh,
NFL
my
team.
goodness.
And
Yeah,
Willie,
whatever.
How many points does Derek
oh,
get?
Derek had 3
Okay.
for a total of 45 points.
Okay. Maintaining the pace here.
Now, Willie, you had Arkansas plus the points. Unfortunately,
What happened?
That didn't happen.
The Razorbacks got smoked. That was bad.
I don't know, man. It's the Ole Miss Rebels must have heard you say that, and they're like,
Yeah.
you know what? We're
I-
gonna prove
I fired
Willie
him up.
wrong.
I fired
That's
him
what
up.
you did. You did a bulletin board material for them, but you get points for this. The Titans QB, a Titans QB would get multiple touchdown passes. There were 2 touchdown passes, so
This
that
is
was
true.
multiple.
Thank you, Mason Rudolph.
And then Giants did not cover.
Well,
This is Willie's
this
beef.
is my beef.
This is
my
Willie's
beef.
beef.
And albeit I was looking for the backdoor cover because the Giants got beat pretty soundly. The Commanders took care of business. The Giants were only a 4-point dog. They're down 24-10 early in the 4th quarter. They drive the field and they score. The score is 24-16. My chart, I don't know about your 2-point chart, Adam, or yours, D Mace, or yours, David, but I say kick the extra point, you're down 7.
Yeah.
What
No,
do
I
the,
would. That's
what do
what I
the
would do.
Giants do?
Go for 2.
They go for 2. And Daniel Jones gets sacked. It is a terrible play. Had no chance. I'm like, what are they doing? They want to get to within 24-18? What does that do?
something.
So then, of course, the Commanders kick a field goal. Now it's 27-16. Still a chance for the backdoor cover. They're 4-point dogs. They score a touchdown. Now they've got to go for 2. If they kick for 1, they would have pushed. I might have got a point.
Exactly.
And then, of course, Daniel Jones gets sacked again on the 2. So they, instead of just kicking 2 extra points and being down 27-24, which is what would have happened and maybe covered, they lose by 5. And Donick gets nothing on the take it to the net.
Yeah, well, you did get 3
I got
points.
Mason
So
Rudolph.
we've
You
all,
got
we've
3
all,
points.
we've all
So
got
3
3
across
points.
the
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
3 across.
How
the board.
about you,
Okay.
David?
Now-
How'd you do?
Now, listen, I had really close one. I like Oregon. I said Oregon would win by 25 plus. They only won by 20, so I didn't get any points from that. I said Jaron Jackson would get 30 points. He got 27 points. But I did get points because Lamar Jackson had 2 total touchdowns against the Broncos.
So how many points did you get this week?
3.
So everybody gets 3.
Everyone gets 3.
Okay. So I had a bad week, but so did you all.
So yeah, we that's why I said we all had a bad week. But
3s aren't going
Adam-
to get it done for me.
No, they're not. They're
I need-
not for
I
me
need more.
either.
I need
Yeah.
more.
I agree. I do too. Willie, we got to do what D-Mace does, which is pick 25 picks. But now, Adam, you should go first.
Stop it. I'm not picking 25
Okay.
times.
Here are my 4 selections for this week.
Okay.
Vanderbilt will defeat South Carolina by at least 9 points.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
So it's
Where are you coming
so,
up with that?
So a 2-score. I was like 2-score game.
Wow.
So Vanderbilt.
You know
will
they're an
defeat-
underdog.
Has it mattered to Vanderbilt all season that they've been an underdog?
But you're
I
calling
think
winning
not.
by 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to do. They were an underdog last week against Auburn on the road and won by 10.
Okay.
Did they not?
They did.
I
Okay.
believe so.
I'm being bold here. So if I'm right, I expect some big points. Vanderbilt will defeat South Carolina by at least 9 points. Steven Stamkos, who's actually scoring despite the Predators losing, will score against the Utah Hockey Club tomorrow. So Steven Stamkos will get another goal tomorrow against Utah. Christian McCaffrey is expected to make his season debut for the 49ers at the Buccaneers on Sunday. I say that McCaffrey will have a touchdown of any kind and at 100 total yards. So both a touchdown passing or rushing and 100 total yards in his season debut. And guys, you're not ready for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Will Levis will not throw an interception against the Chargers.
Whoa, okay.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Specifically an interception.
Yes, I am leaving the possibility for a fumble. I am leaving the possibility
Okay,
for a fumble, but Will Levis will not throw an interception against the Chargers. Switching it up.
Okay.
Wow.
I like that one. All
And
right.
if he does me wrong, we're going back to the way it was.
Going back to the well.
Yes.
Is it on me or
You're up, Derek.
okay? I got. I'm going with the NBA first. We got a game tonight. I think it is tonight. Yeah, Dallas at Phoenix. I got KD to have 25 or more points tonight, and they will beat Dallas by at least 7 points. I know that's not a lot in NBA, but 7 points. Okay. Memphis Grizzlies. I'm going back to him. Ja Morant. Did y'all see those 2 moves he made, man? The midair
Oh, it was amazing.
reverse. Yeah, oh, man, it was amazing.
Highlight reel.
Ja Morant will have at least 2 highlight plays, and he will score 25 or more points.
Well,
Against
highlight,
Washington.
Tonight?
Tonight. Yeah, tonight against Washington. Is it
highlight
tonight?
plays are subjective.
No, they're not.
Yes, they
a
are.
dunk over somebody.
Yeah,
a
but-
dunk. What?
but how do we
hold on,
determine?
when we're talking Ja
Does it have to be
Morant,
Well,
sports,
okay.
sports Center
First
top
off,
10?
first off,
100 views
Hold on,
on
David's
Instagram?
got David.
Listen,
Go ahead.
D-Mace,
Okay.
I want to be fair to you
Okay.
because I would want the fair thing for me as well.
Okay.
John Morant's out this week. Is
Oh, is he?
tonight. He's out tonight.
oh damn! See,
Okay.
that's
Load
what happened
management?
with basketball.
Wait, no,
players.
so you can have this.
Man.
What? We can have,
He already said
take it to the
it.
bank. It's already out there. Card lake.
Okay, let me do
He
this.
already said it. Says
Nope, I didn't know he was out. So now he's out. Damn, basketball
David, you're
players.
too nice.
Philadelphia, the Lakers. I got my Lakers beating the Joel Embiid less Sixers. I
Okay.
think they play tonight. I got them beating the Sixers by more than 8 points. So there go mine.
All
I
right,
went all
fair.
basketball.
Don't be pushing
I went all
newspaper
basketball.
columnists, Joel Embiid. That's all I'm saying. All right, Willie.
That journalist needs to stay. He needs to stop talking about things he don't know nothing about.
All right, Willie, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to go to the ACC. I think Georgia Tech's a pretty scrappy team playing at home. 11-point dogs. Miami has been a little bit of a high wire act. They've had some trouble winning big. Even Duke was scoring a lot of points against them last week. They're number 4 in the country. The pressure's starting to mount. I like Georgia Tech and the points. I don't think this is a good matchup for the Titans this week. I think the ball control, the defense, the running game is a good way to go about it. So I think the Chargers, especially with the Titans offensive line issues, I like the Chargers -7.5 against the Titans. And I'm going to throw this one out there. This is a little crazy. Florida has played well enough that they have said Billy Napier is going to remain the coach. What would you have bet? I would not have taken that to the bank after the first couple of weeks.
Absolutely
right?
not.
He was good as gone.
He was Gator Chow.
But now that they gave him the vote of confidence, they're going to get destroyed by Texas. You know it's going to happen because the Gator fans, half of them are angry, over half are angry about this decision, and they're
exactly Napier. We hadn't talked much about Napier.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to be the first
totally gone.
Dead man walking. We thought.
So they're getting 21.5 points, and I'm going to take Texas.
Oh, wow.
just so I can watch
Horns
the Gator
up,
fans. Because the Gator fans are going to go crazy. It's like, why did you do it? Why did you say he's coming back?
So you have no faith in them. That's what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
I
David.
don't really care. I just think it's fun. I think Florida fans are about as entitled as any fan base that I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Now, so with me, this is my picks. I think Jaren Jackson will go for 30 tonight against the Wizards, and I think the Grizzlies will win their next 3 games.
Who are they playing in their next 3 games?
They're playing the Washington Wizards, the Portland Trailblazers, and the LA Lakers.
Okay.
And also, I'll say, so there's a big game this weekend. It's LSU versus Alabama. I like LSU a lot. I think LSU will win by 3 points.
Okay.
Against the Alabama Roll Tide.
Okay.
Go Tigers. And I think, trying to think, what was the other one I said? Never mind. That's all my picks.
Okay. Well,
perhaps LSU is looking ahead at the Vanderbilt matchup in a couple weeks.
Can't nobody look ahead to Vandy anymore. Can't nobody look ahead to Vandy anymore.
Now you play trap games leading into Vanderbilt.
Exactly.
Oh, I forgot. I have one more.
Okay.
I have one more. This is the new old reliable. Nick Westbrook-Akine will get one touchdown. We'll get a touchdown.
That would be 5 games in a row.
Yes.
For Nick
Yes,
Westbrook-Akine, Nick Westbrook Rexroad, Akine, Nick Rexroad Akine.
West.
Words are hard to say.
Yes, words
Just
are
call
hard
him
to say.
TD. Just call him TD. That's all.
We already have a
touchdown.
TD on this
he
station.
Touchdown. He
Okay.
touchdown.
We already have a TD on
Mr.
this
Touchdown.
station.
Yeah, Mr.
Anyway,
Touchdown.
I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Lots of football,
Yeah,
family
that's a lot.
time, all of those things. Willie, we'll see you in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, Willie.
You won't see me, but you will be hearing from me.
Yes, Willie will be on the
And you won't be
program.
able to see if I'm
Willie,
taking a
take a picture-
screenshot of my computer.
Take a picture of yourself and put it on the wall back there so we won't forget how you look.
No, actually, what
fathead.
you should do
Order
is
a
I will
fathead.
pull up a picture of you on my computer, then take a picture of that with my phone, and then we'll put it up
Okay,
there.
make a
But
fathead
Willie
out
will
of
be
it.
on the road with the Predators. He'll be on the program. He just won't be here with us. So we'll see you in a few weeks, Willie. Have safe travels. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Stillman & Company coming up next, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Have a wonderful and blessed weekend. Love on your people. Be loved. Take care of yourself. Peace.